Guangxi, China, September the 29th, 2025. Typhoon Buolaoi unleashed torrential rains within hours, swallowing dozens of villages in Guangxi and triggering landslides in Yunnan that buried homes across China and Vietnam. The storm has left dozens dead, destroyed thousands of homes, and caused economic losses still too great to estimate. Even as communities were still reeling from the devastation of Super Typhoon Regasa, Buolaoi struck suddenly that September night, delivering yet another crushing blow to China's already battered south. Rain fell like a dam bursting, while fierce winds ripped through the skies. Buolaoi's fury swept through towns and villages, shattering the calm and leaving behind submerged fields, mud-choked hamlets, and heartbreaking scenes of destruction. Regions like Guangxi, Yunnan, and Quanzhou are no strangers to monsoon rains, but the devastation this time has far exceeded anything in recent memory. Through the pitch-black night and into dawn, heavy rain pounded relentlessly. Some monitoring stations recorded more than 200 millimeters of rainfall in just 24 hours. In Yunnan's mountains, loosened soil triggered landslides that buried dozens of homes, forcing authorities to order mass evacuations of thousands. Villages turned into seas of mud and rock, where cries for help mingled with the roar of rain and the shouts of rescuers struggling along shattered roads.
Zones.
In Guangxi, flash floods rushed down from the highlands, transforming riverside towns into vast lakes within minutes. Roads became torrents of mud, cars were swept away like toys, and rooftops and power poles were ripped from the ground. Residents fled in panic, some surviving only by scrambling to higher ground at the last moment. By 6 a.m. the next morning, China's Central Meteorological Observatory had issued both a yellow typhoon warning and a red rainstorm alert. From Guangdong to Hainan Island, and from Guangxi to Yunnan, rain poured relentlessly. In some areas, daily totals neared 280 millimeters, quickly submerging farmland and rural villages. In Henan, Sanya and Wanning, wind gusts reached hurricane force levels. Trees snapped in half along city streets, moored boats broke free of their anchors, and TV broadcasts showed roads cut off by floodwaters and checkpoints buried in mud. Rescuers waded through chest-deep waters, ropes in hand, leading families to safety. Across the border in Vietnam, where Buolaoi was known as Storm No. 10, the destruction was just as severe. Entire villages in Nguyen and Ha Tinh provinces were flattened, walls collapsed, trees toppled, and cars were buried under rubble. Vast regions were left without electricity. Families stepping outside found crushed vehicles, scattered bricks, and streets that had become rivers. In Da Nang, hotel windows were shattered by the storm, with parts of buildings collapsing to expose debris-strewn rooms. In Than Hoa, Nguyen Nguyen Hung, the local party secretary, was killed by a falling tree while on his way to oversee typhoon defense. That same day, a family of 4 in Home Phuc village was trapped when their home collapsed but miraculously survived after hours of frantic rescue efforts. In Ninh Binh province, as the storm still raged, a sudden tornado struck, killing 6 people, injuring 7, and destroying or unroofing dozens of houses. A school was leveled, its desks and chairs scattered across the streets. The howling winds and cries of grief turned the countryside into a scene of devastation. At sea, the situation was equally dire. China's 21st typhoon of the year continued to churn in the Pacific, raising fears of a rare, twin typhoon scenario. Chinese meteorologists warned the public to closely follow weather alerts, noting that the worst rains and floods were not yet over. Forecasts showed another round of intense rainfall, expected in early October across the Red River and Yangtze River basins, threatening already saturated mountains with more flash floods and deadly landslides.
By the morning of
By the end of September, damage reports from Buolaoi were still being updated. Tens of thousands of rooftops had been torn away, hundreds of buildings had collapsed, and hundreds of thousands of hectares of farmland lay underwater. More than 100 fishing boats were lost along Vietnam's coast. 17 fishermen and 2 vessels remain missing. In Nha An province, another boat carrying 8 people disappeared into the waves. Families could do nothing but wait in despair. On social media in both China and Vietnam, harrowing storm videos were shared endlessly, streets turned into rivers, cars floating away, children carried on rescuers' shoulders, and elderly villagers huddled in corners of makeshift shelters. Loudspeakers in many villages broadcast evacuation orders throughout the night, but outside, the rain never stopped. Buolaoi will almost certainly be remembered as one of the most destructive storms of the fall of 2025. It left behind not only toppled power lines, torn off rooftops, and buried villages, but also a sobering reminder to millions: extreme weather is becoming increasingly unpredictable. The storm will pass, but its scars and memories will remain for years to come.